Friends, it's nearly Memorial Day, and that means we are transplanting lots of things. And here are 5 tips to help boost your success this season. Number 1, harden everything off. Number 2, timing is everything. Number 3, fish emulsion is amazing. Number 4, make sure, if they're root bound, do something about it. And number 5, be sure to tamp down the soil after you plant them. Let me break these down for you. So number 1, hardening off. And that is basically the process of acclimatizing your plants from the cozy, even conditions of your home to the unpredictable, fluctuating, wildly different conditions in your garden or raised bed or containers. And we have some other little videos for you to explore about this, but know that 5 to 7 day period where you're hardening off these, especially tomatoes, are so vital, but even these cabbage and broccoli, the cool season things, it's so important that they get the full duration. So read more tips on the blog. And check out some more in-depth videos for more info on hardening off. Without further ado, number 2, timing is everything. So these 2 transplants were started at wildly different times, and they're hardened off at wildly different times as well. Because the tomato is cold hardy, or pardon me, it's cold sensitive. If this was going to frost, this tomato would die. Even if the nights were less than 50 degrees, this tomato would be super sad about it. So we're not putting them outside until the nights are consistently above 45, 50 degrees, which is about now, mid-May. And this cabbage, on the other hand, let me not jinx us now. If it snowed again, it wouldn't blink. Cabbage is profoundly cold hardy, and it doesn't mind if it snows, doesn't mind if it frosts, doesn't mind if it's 45 like this tomato would. So we hardened it off weeks ago, and we could have planted it, in fact, weeks ago. So definitely check out, know what crops want to be, are frost sensitive, which ones are not frost sensitive, and check out, if you haven't seen, I wrote this sweet little book called Rise and Shine, Starting Seeds with Ease, and there's, among many other things, a transplant chart. And you'll find in this transplant chart, there's earliest sowing date, sowing depth, all kinds of info, but also giving you an idea of when to plant it out, and lots of other details to help you be successful as you harden plants off. So again, that's a little book that I wrote this winter, Rise and Shine, Starting Seeds with Ease, and tons of great info in it to set you up for success. So yes, timing is everything. Number 3, fish emulsion is amazing. And anytime you're transplanting, we water the plants before we plant them in the ground. And that encourages all of the roots and soil to stay together when we're uplifting them from that container into the soil. But it also helps, that additional water really helps the roots just instantly go for and explore the soil around them. If you're using fish emulsion, all of a sudden you have all of these macronutrients, all of these micronutrients available, and you are giving them tons of food along for the journey, not just water. So you're just boosting your success, their health that much more, and any chance you can give them, make your plants more happy and healthy, that will translate directly into the abundance that you reap. So number 4, if they're root bound, what do you do now? And friends, know that knowing that if there's anything that you can do, and there's lots of things that you can do to make plants not get root bound, that is the dream. First and foremost, use peat pots, use soil blocks. That hands down, they'll air prune rather than getting root bound. But if they do get root bound, know that you have some options. And a few other things you can do to prevent them being root bound. Plant later is one of the easiest things that you can do. And also plant out sooner. Don't let them get huge in their containers. And you can also pot up. Once things have pot up into larger containers, once your plants have larger leaves and more true leaves, they're going to need more food. They're going to be more stressed in a small space. So potting up is a great way to fend off becoming root bound. But take a look at this cabbage that, friends, isn't bad, but it is not great. Look at how many, the fact that I can even see white is sad, much less that the white is a much more dominant color than the soil, and especially down at the bottom. And basically this plant is putting way more energy into its root system, trying to get outside of that cell than it is putting energy into its leaves, growing you abundance. So if you do have root-bound plants, just give them some gentle squeezes like this, especially down at the bottom where there tends to be a few more roots that are just wildly circling, trying to get out of that container. Gently encourage them to break up a little bit, and in that way then we'll dunk it into that dilute fish emulsion for lots of nutrients, and then when we plant that in the soil, they'll be that much more ready to think outside the box that they've been in for weeks. So yes, root-bound plants are not the end of the world, but they're not the best by any means. And that brings us to number 5. When you do finally plant your transplant in the ground, you want to tamp them down, and imagine that this plant is here in the soil and I've planted it right up to the level of the soil. It's not buried at all. Potatoes, tomatoes, their stems can be buried in soil and they'll actually produce roots, which is amazing. But in lieu of that, everything else you want to plant right at the same level that the transplant was. And then when you plant it in the ground, you just want to tamp it down with your hands, giving it a little bit of pressure. And that reduces the air pockets around your plant's roots, and it increases that soil root contact. So that increases the nutrients and the water and just everything for that plant as it's growing and exploring with their roots, accessing new nutrients in the soil to grow. Everything is right there for it. It's a little thing that goes a long way. So there you have it, friends. 5 things to keep in mind as you're transplanting your beautiful seedlings this season. May they surround you with beauty and abundance. And don't be shy. Let us know if you have any questions throughout the season. We are at your service.